Hey everybody, it's episode 445 of PodQuest.
Hey!
It is Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023. I am Chris. With me is Druten.
Hello.
And Walnut.
Yeah, for now.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, you could drop that at any moment.
Probably will. We'll see what happens.
I mean, look, the odds are low, but anything is possible.
Anything
This
is
is true.
I mean, I might not even be here right now. This could just be the ghost of me talking, and I'm not here.
Well, let's hope the
else.
ghost of you is more interesting.
I mean, I can go through walls.
Can you?
I don't know. I can't go through my computer screen right now, so I'm not a ghost.
But that's the thing, like, we don't know for sure that ghosts can go through things. That's an assumption.
I mean, you're right. You're totally right.
It's a bug, not a feature.
Like, if ghosts could go through walls, why do they stay in the one house? Like,
Well, so, I mean, the theory there is that they are tethered to that location. They can go anywhere in that location, but, like, their soul is anchored to it. There's a show on CBS right now called Ghost. I think it's based on a British show, but it's basically that. There's this, like, mansion in, like, upstate New York that this couple inherited, and it is infested with ghosts that have died there over like a 1,000 years. Like, I think the oldest ghost is either a Native American or a Viking.
okay.
And it's just like there's a Native American, a Viking, a revolutionary, like, officer, a late 1800s, like, countess sort of person, a, like, 1960s, 70s hippie, an early 80s, nerdy scoutmaster, a turn of the 21st century, like, Wall Street bro, and in their basement are a bunch of like, leper patients, basically. Like, so at some point in the early part of the century, it was used as, like, a leper colony or cholera or something, some sort of like disease.
When they used to go, "You're sick, you go hide over here till you die."
Yeah, and then there's, like, an outhouse on the property that have, like, some of the British Revolutionary soldiers. But the whole thing is, like, they're all stuck on the property, but not able to leave it. So, like, if they're, like, in a car, like, they can be in a car, but as soon as that car hits, like, the property line, they just get forcibly ejected from it. There was even a girl that was just on it that, she died in a car, like, in a bad car accident, so she was tethered to that car. Yeah. So, like, she was only happy when, like, the car was, like, traveling places because she at least got to, like, see things still.
Makes sense. But what happens when you tear something down?
I think they're still on the land because the house isn't what's haunted or isn't what, like, they're tethered to. It's the property. So, like, the Viking and the Indian died long before the house was there. And I think even with the Revolutionary War folks, like, the house wasn't there. And a lot of them happened to just die, like, on the property one way or another. They didn't, like, the scoutmaster, he got shot through the neck with an arrow during, like, archery.
Also, time out. What fucking fatal car accident happens that car wasn't totaled and destroyed? Like, to have someone be tethered to a specific car.
So,
like that.
I think that the woman was actually thrown from the car and either into that car or was still close enough when she died because she has a big piece of glass sticking out of her head.
Okay.
So I'm assuming, like, she was drunk, like they admitted to. So I'm thinking, like, no seatbelt, like flung from the vehicle sort of thing, where, like, had she been wearing a seatbelt, she would have been fine, and the car ended up being fine in the long run.
I don't know. That Drew's right. Like,
man, it's a comedy.
Unless she
it's
went
a comedy,
through,
guys.
like, the other car's windshield or whatever. Like, it just that doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah, no.
Because, like,
all suspension of disbelief is gone now. There's no way stuck to that car is not totaled.
Look, I've seen non-fatal car accidents that weren't really that bad total a car just because all the airbags went off. Like,
so this is, like, it's not an old car, but it's an old enough car that I feel like the airbags probably weren't a thing.
But to go the speed you need to go to not be buckled in and to be thrown from your car and to hit something, you got to be going fast.
I mean, and I don't remember exactly how it was laid out. She could have been flung from her car into another car.
Maybe.
Like these ghosts all die in weird ways.
Yeah.
Like the Wall Street bro has no pants.
Do the ghosts die in weird ways, or do they both die in weird ways?
Well, they're people, you know what I mean. And like the Viking, his adult son, who he hadn't seen since he was a child, came to America to look for him, and then died in the plot of land next door. So like they didn't even know that like there were ghosts next door to each other.
But that then raises another question. A ghost is, as you said, they are tied to that spot that they died. Then why are they beholden to the government lining of a parcel of land ownage?
You know, that's a good question. And
yeah, like what decides the boundary that they can
and you
go?
know what, who's to say that, like, I could not tell you for certain that the spot that they get ejected from a car if they try to leave is actually their property line. Because it's one of those, like, giant mansion, like, they have tons of land. And there's definitely, like, a long driveway beyond where the ghosts usually get ejected from it.
Mm-hmm.
But they've gone to show that, like, there are ghosts everywhere. Like, the whole thing is, like, the main woman, she fell down the stairs in the house and was in, like, a coma for, like, a few weeks. And because she had, like, a near-death experience, she can see and communicate with the ghost now, but her husband can't, so he just accepts that they're there. It's actually very funny, like, the whole dynamic. But so, like, everywhere she goes now, like, they occasionally will do episodes in, like, places not at their house, and, like, there will inevitably be, like, a ghost somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like I think her mom died in a diner, so, like, she went to that diner and her mom happened to be there.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, that, like, she was hoping for that because she had a bad relationship with her and figured that was a chance to try and, like, redeem it.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
The show has that whole, like, if you it's got, like, the Casper thing. If you don't have unfinished business, like, it seems to let them move on to heaven or hell. So I think two people have moved on upward, and one person has been sucked underground. So
you said it's a
make
comedy?
with that what you will. Yeah,
I might have to check it out.
ABC
would be on.
I believe it's CBS.
CBS, then it probably won't be on anything till Netflix.
Paramount Plus.
Yeah, actually, you know what? It's probably on Paramount if it's on anything.
And I find.
Yeah, so it's Ghosts with an S at the end. And yeah, the first two seasons do appear to be on Paramount Plus.
Yep. Then I'll have to check it out.
Oh, that's right. And there's like a 1920s like jazz singer. Forgot about her. It's not a bad show for like a silly sitcom.
I'll have to check it out. I've been looking for new silly shows to watch. I'm in the middle of my surprisingly only second rewatch or second watch through, not really rewatch, but second watch through of Superstore. I've been trying to find new like sitcoms to have on the background, and like when I'm trying to just veg out and disassociate basically. And so like Superstore, that's actually a pretty funny show. So put that on.
You should check out Extraordinary on Hulu.
Extraordinary?
Yeah.
I've seen it. There's a lot of stuff on the list. I don't really have a lot of time. I haven't had a lot of time to watch shows in weeks. I've been super.
He doesn't have a lot of time, but he's rewatching a show.
But that's I'm not. But that's like it's 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I'm falling asleep, and it's on until I'm
stop
ready
falling
to go
asleep
to
at 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Look who's talking.
I mean, you're the one that doesn't like to go to sleep.
Mister, I go to bed at 9 because I'm a baby.
I go to bed at 10, thank you very much.
Psh, wow, you grew up and got a later bedtime.
No, it's been 10 o'clock for years. Where have you been?
Could have swore you used to go to bed like 9:30.
No, I just know that I'm going to be tired if I don't go to sleep, so I go to sleep. Like a fucking adult.
I don't go to sleep. No.
You literally got on here earlier yawning, man.
Yeah,
lie to
because
us.
I'm sick, kind of. And it causes yawning and exhaustion.
All of your acid issues make sense why you've been so argumentative on Discord this week.
I haven't been argumentative. Those have been good conversations though. Like,
man, you've been fucking attacking everybody.
It's not an attack. I'm responding to an opinion that I don't agree with. I'm not attacking. I'm not calling people out saying they're fucking wrong and bullshit or anything like that. I'm just saying I don't agree with you.
Yeah, and that's attacking, right, Drew?
Yep.
No. Look, I'm not cursing people out. We're actually having a intellectual conversation about this, about things, and it's.
What we don't see is Richie's at home, literally slamming his keyboard against his desk.
No, literally, I'm because the way I do with every conversation, when people when we disagree, I actually sit there and I read and I process and I type it out. I'm not getting mad because this isn't like arguing with Eric, or none of these were like arguing with Eric, where he you're a fucking idiot bullshit like that. No, it's just straight up, we disagree. It's 100% disagreement. And I don't think we're going to change each other's minds, but that's fine, because it's a silly disagreement. It doesn't really change our lives.
Yeah, that's fair. But what's on the agenda?
So Drew got to play his favorite game of all time.
NHL 94?
I was trying to, when I said that was me trying to think of a game that he hates. And I just ran a blank. So that's why I then started to say Blood on the Clocktower. I finished Jedi Fallen Order. Cobb, you played some of the Switch Online games, the 64 games and whatnot. Drew's been playing the Wily Wars. Chris watched MEGAN, or Me3GAN, or M3GAN. That's what it is, M3GAN. And I got to see Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania.
These all sound factual.
Yeah,
Drew,
it's a pretty loaded show.
How'd you do running a game of Blood on the Clocktower?
Like 90% well. I kind of fucked up the ending. It didn't really matter in the long run. So my brother's been doing a board game night for a few weeks, and I guess it was like the third or fourth one, and it's been progressively getting more people, and there wound up being 13 people there last night, including me. So it was a 12-player game of Blood on the Clocktower for my first ever game as a storyteller. Got down to 7 players alive when the Slayer accurately used their Slayer shot on the demon, and I said the game was over, but I forgot that the one living minion was the Scarlet Woman, and there were still more than 5 players alive. So I was like, wait, no, game's not over. But everyone was already sus on the minion anyway. Like, literally, they were debating which of the 2 players, the minion or the demon, that they were going to have the Slayer shoot. And they were probably going to vote to execute the other one anyway. So
you ruined the game is what I'm hearing.
Basically.
Yeah. Cool.
But, yeah, it went really well. I, for certain, was going to run a game where my brother, if he got a townsfolk character, I was making him the drunk, which he did, so I did, and it worked exactly how the drunk should work, and fucked up information, and it got Sarah executed when she claimed to be the role she actually was, but I had shown my brother, who was the washerwoman, so he got to know one townsfolk at the beginning, that one of the 2 neighbors, one of actually the demon and one of the minions was the soldier, and my brother was like, no, she's not the soldier. I know who the soldier is, and it's definitely not her. And so, and it was a bunch of people, like mixed groups of friends of people who some didn't know each other at all before this, and everyone seemed to enjoy it. Apparently, people were texting my brother this morning like, that was a lot of fun, hope we get to play again, blah 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 blah. So
nice.
How
long did it end up taking for that many people?
I want to say it was probably like an hour and a half. But I also probably let the first few days go a little longer than I should have, and then definitely want to control the nomination phase a little more. There wound up being a lot of over talking while trying to get votes running. So
that many people is hard to corral too.
Yeah, but so the next time it'll be like at the very beginning. It'll be like, okay, this is how we're gonna run the voting. It's gonna be you can all talk whatever at the very beginning of everyone getting back to town square, but then the second someone says I nominate someone else, everyone shut the fuck up. The nominator can talk. The person nominated will then defend. I'll give you 30 seconds for other information, tops, and then we'll vote. And then continue.
That seems that seems like the right way to do that, especially if you have a group that big again.
Yeah. And, it'll go faster as, like, I get more familiar with running the game and knowing where to put everything in the grimoire at the beginning, and as everyone's more used to their roles and doesn't have to ask questions about, okay, well, what does this mean? What does that mean? So
True. Yeah, it's funny. I think it was just yesterday on, like, one of the Discords I'm in, somebody started posting, like, asking if anyone would be interested in playing that.
It's so good. Like, I was worried no one was going to, like, talk, and I was going to have to be like, y'all are allowed to tell each other things. Like, say whatever the hell you want. It's not like you're breaking the game by saying anything, because nobody knows for sure what you're saying is real. But my brother, and two of his friends were incredibly vocal, and that, I feel the more that people are talking, the more it engages everyone else, whether or not they want to talk. But
that's definitely true, but, like, within reason. Because, like, if, like, two people are doing all of the talking, that can also, like, or if they're doing too much talking, I should say.
Yeah.
It can make other people be like, oh, well, they're just talking all the time, so they seem to, like, have a grasp on this. I'm just gonna let them figure it out.
Yeah.
Because people are stupid. Did you know most of these people, or were they just, like, all your brother's friends?
Well, it was mainly all my brother's friends, and then my wife and me and my wife's one friend, Kristen. But one of the friends, the one dude, Nick, I've known for a long while. The other friend, Andrew, plays in the football board game league, and I've known him for a long while. Then his one friend Anna has been at the different board game nights, so I've known her. But then actually there was my cousin and her boyfriend. So, like, there was only like 4 or 5, like 4 people I had not really met before that. So
that probably helped, like, make the game go a little smoother then too. Like,
yeah. And, it wound up being like, okay, these people know each other, so they kind of formed their little group of, like, okay, well, we already know each other in real life, so we're going to talk to you because I know you. But, like, that's how that game just goes, I feel, anyway.
I mean, that's how society goes, and these sort of games are really, like, just a play on society.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's how does a group of people react when presented with somebody as a bad guy?
Yep.
And the answer is finger pointing.
Mm-hmm.
Lots and lots of finger pointing.
And then lots of yelling.
Yeah.
So much yelling.
And, like, really, in the long run, it's probably rich.
See, that's one reason why I'm not a super big fan of those types of games, is because I'm usually out pretty.
But so that's the thing about Clocktower, though, is you're never really out of the game.
But they're like if you get executed, are you still allowed to talk and debate and throw things around and?
Yep.
That's the whole thing with that game.
There's only 2 things you no longer can do once you're dead: is your ability no longer works, and you can't be the one that nominates someone, but you can still be like, hey, can someone nominate this person for me, and I'll tell you why. And, like, living person can go, okay, I nominate this other person. You, Richie, go ahead, explain why you think. And you're allowed to say everything you want to say.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, you played for an hour and a half, and that you can't use your ability, which is part of the game, and you do get some agency taken away from you. It feels to me. I'm not saying it does, but, like, to me, I'm just like, I'm losing the gameplay a little bit, because now all I get to do is vote, really. That's it.
But not every role gets an interesting ability either.
Or consider that there's games like Werewolf, where once you are dead, you are not allowed to speak anymore, period. Like, you are out.
100%. Like, that's like, I was super into Werewolf when I first played it, and then I got it, and we played it a handful of times, and, like, I started trying to make up my own house rules, because I felt bad that people, after they were out, could no longer play. And it's like, we'd be playing for 30 minutes or more, and people are just sitting there being quiet. And I'm just like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like an average game of Clocktower probably is not 90 minutes either, but the fact that you had a group of 13 and it was your first time running the game, that, like, it's going to take a little bit longer than normal.
But I also feel 12 is a very optimal number of people to play a game like that with, because then it does go a little bit longer. Like,
Yeah, from everything I've watched, like, the games that seem the most enjoyable are between 8 and, like, 12 players, plus the storyteller.
Yeah.
That's right, Rich. You don't like fun. We get it.
No, it's just, I'm not good at reading people. I'm not. And I'm not good at, like, trying to figure out sometimes when people are lying or not, and it's just, like, those little social deception things I'm not good at. Even, like, I love playing Among Us, but even with Among Us, it's like, are they telling the truth or not? Like, how do I divert suspicion from me to somebody else? And then you end up getting in those groups where you're playing with the same 10 people, and their general rule is this person always gets voted out first. And it's like, well, that kind of sucks. Like, why, though? Well, it's just what we do. Well, no, that's not how you should be playing this game. It's not how you do. There's a whole thing that you got to figure out. And so some aspects of, like, the social deception just, like, doesn't fully seem fun and interesting to me, because I'm generally not good at it. I played Secret Hitler once a while back, and I only won as Hitler the one time because my minion was right after me, and I was able to stack the deck in that way. If she wasn't right after me, they knew who I was immediately. And I did nothing different than what I normally do.
It was all those ekiles and stuff.
Yeah.
You just gave yourself away.
Yeah, I probably goose-stepped a little too much, yeah.
Also, like when you're playing that game, like, don't grow the mustache.
I shaved it down is what it was. Like, I shaved down the beard and everything when I got the Hitler card. I was like, I gotta play the role.
You're like, hold on, give me 10 minutes.
Hold on, guys, let me go get the Charlie Chaplin going. And I ran and I shaved it all down and just got the little Charlie Chaplin stash.
I will say, like I agree with you. Like some of those social games, like, I enjoy them a lot, but, like, they can be a bummer depending on, like, how long they go and, like, how early you're out. Like Avalon and Werewolf and all those. Mm-hmm. But, like, Blood on the Clocktower it has a different vibe just because it is just a, just, you're still part of the game. Like, you still have all the information you had before.
Yeah.
And, like, you're still hearing what other people are saying. So, like, but you're also not potentially, the drunk anymore, where you're getting told bad information and you just don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Because isn't that how that works, where, like the players don't generally know what their role is in a lot of cases? Well, or am I misremembering that? No, or is it just certain ones don't know?
I mean, I guess theoretically, the drunk is the only one that doesn't know that they are the role that they took out of the bag.
I thought there were a few others that didn't really know.
No.
Like, they were just generic.
No. Yeah, like, all of the characters know what they are, with the exception of the drunk, because their ability is that they think they are a townsfolk, which, so essentially, if you're playing a game with a drunk, as the storyteller, you would put one too many townsfolk for how many ever are supposed to be in there based on the number of players playing, and then you just go, well, I'm gonna replace this character with the drunk. And then you treat that person like they are whatever role they are for the rest of the game, but give them bullshit information.
Okay.
Or sometimes the right information, but that's for them to figure out.
Yeah, that's true, because, like, you kind of give them whatever you want at that point.
Mm-hmm. And I started to learn, or realize that, like, also as the storyteller, you kind of also want to be playing the game a little bit with people, and, like, as people are having side conversations, really go listen in on some of them to see who some people are thinking are sus, or what roles people think people are, or what roles people are bluffing as, so that if, like, a poisoner poisons the Undertaker and you go to show them the recently executed character, you can lie about it, like, more to what the players are thinking.
Okay.
To back up thoughts that might be wrong, or back up thoughts that are actually right. And it's like, okay, yes, you were thinking something the right way, but, like, when Sarah got executed, if the Undertaker was poisoned, I 100% would have shown probably the demon, and then them all have to be like, wait, but we executed the demon, now where is it?
So was Sarah the demon?
No, she was the soldier. But my brother didn't think she was because of his drunk information.
Man, the boy needs to sober up. Anything else you want to say about Blood on the Clocktower, though?
No, but it looks like we'll be playing more, so I'm excited.
So, Rich, how was the end of Star Wars Jedi: Fallen Order?
Let me tell you, the best Star Wars story in a long time.
Dude, doesn't it get so much better, like from the Kashyyyk point on?
The game itself is really good. It's such a
but
fun
the
game.
narrative, I mean.
But the narrative is just, it's so interesting. It pulls you in. It's new. It's different. It's everything is great about this because it's not fucking Skywalkers or anybody surrounding them, except for the very end. But that doesn't count. And it's just it's a nice, refreshing story. I've always said that, when it comes to Star Wars, I want something that's not Jedi-based. I want something that's not Skywalker-based. And it really turns out that I just want something that's not Skywalker-based. You can give me a good Jedi story as long as it's not about the fucking Skywalker.
You should read the books.
I'm sure if I read the books, they're not canon anymore, so it doesn't matter.
No, they have all new canon. They have the High Republic stuff, hundreds of years before the Skywalkers.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want Star Wars without Skywalker. And this whole story, from beginning to end, where it's about Cal and how he's basically dealing with post-Order 66. It starts 5 years after, but you get to see some of his past life as a Padawan trainee. And you get to uncover some very good mystery. The acting, the character choices for all the actor choices and everything are all really good. They all have some really good characters. The Night Sister was freaking awesome. I think she's one of the coolest characters to be introduced in a Star Wars.
It's a shame. It's a shame that her whole kind of teaming up with you comes so late in the game.
Yeah. But
I would have liked her to be around longer.
I mean, she's going to be in Jedi Survivor because after you beat it, you find it's basically this game is basically. I was saying this as I was beating it. I felt like KOTOR. It felt like Knights of the Old Republic, where you're just putting together this ragtag team of just people trying to survive this galaxy now that the Empire has gone crazy, and you have basically a Sith, you have a Jedi, you have someone who left the Order or cut herself off from the Order, and you have just the pilot and the fun robot companion. It to me feels like a very good collection of Star Wars characters that have good interactions with.
Yeah. And the narrative does it's got a very solid narrative to it. The gameplay is fun. It plays well. Unlocking at a certain point, the first few times you have to unlock stuff to get around is kind of annoying. The first 2.5 planets I was not super into.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pretty sure it was right around Kashyyyk is where you have enough mobility stuff and abilities that the game just kind of opens up to you and just everything becomes a little bit more fun. And the story also kind of kicks in a little bit harder.
So yeah, you don't get your double jump until after you get to Kashyyyk the second time, and you don't get the rebreather and anything like that until the second time. So it does take a while for the game to ramp up to be all right, now it's open to pretty much collect everything again. But it all felt good with the exception of the sliding mechanic. Sliding sucked.
I never liked that mechanic in any game.
But this one, it felt like the controls were even worse than any other game I've ever experienced. And I ended up dying more or not dying, but getting more hurt from dying than I did from most enemies in that game. It was a bad mechanic. It was, I don't really think it was also to do with the sliding. It was the camera delay of the slide. Because it would turn you around corners that are walled off, so you couldn't prepare for the next thing until the camera finally catches up with you. That's what caused the issue. It wasn't as much the slide itself. The slide was bad. It had wonky controls. But because the camera was so slow behind you, you couldn't prepare a lot of times. But I got so excited when you got to Ilum, the second, or the planet with the kyber crystals, And, like, he got, like, now he's dual wielding, and he's got 2 lightsabers and everything. And I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome. And just, like, going around just to collect everything that's on every planet, collect all the secrets, collect all the chests, was interesting. Like, it was puzzle-solving in itself. And there were only a select few that, I had 1 of 5 of this area left to find. And I've been all over and I couldn't find it, so I had to look it up again. Or I had to look it up. There weren't many that I had to look up. But it's just like, it felt interesting trying to solve the puzzle of where everything was, too. Like, it wasn't just like, I feel like I have to do this now. It was like, oh, well, the map tells you how many of something is left in those regions, so it's easy to try to figure that out. The whole story with the second sister was awesome. I was bummed out that you don't quite... I don't believe you killed the 9th sister.
I don't think so either.
Like, you cut her arm off.
But we all know, like, this is Star Wars. Like, cutting off limbs, no big deal.
Yeah, you cut her hand off, and, like, seemingly she fell, and I think she might have fallen into an explosion. I can't 100% remember. But, like, I'm like, man, this is kind of a bummer that you didn't get to kill her.
But you know what? Like, fucking Darth Vader fell into a pool of lava. He's still kicking.
Yeah, that's... So it's like, yeah, she'll be back, for sure. Or she's in other stories. There were a bunch of things I didn't realize. That luckily, I had somebody in my stream who was more knowledgeable. In Dathomir, they mention that the Night Sister mentions that her entire people were killed by a armored man with a lightsaber, and that's Grievous, which is actually apparently it's shown in the Clone Wars series. That whole battle and that whole like genocide of the people of Dathomir is shown in the Clone Wars series. Which I didn't know.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's really cool. I'm gonna need to watch that.
Yeah, because Ventress goes to Dathomir at one point too, and that's where they introduce Darth Maul's brother.
Yeah, well, that's where like everyone you fight in Dathomir are like Darth Maul's people. Like they have the horns or like I don't know what their race is, but
so they are. So it's basically the females on Dathomir are like the Force Witches or whatever they call them in new canon. And the males are Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Like the sort of marbled body coloring with like the spikes.
Yeah, so the females are the Night Sisters and the males are the Night Brothers is what they were calling them in the
they're basically like kept separate, and like the Night Brothers are more of the like aggressive guards from kind of what I got of it. Mm-hmm. And like the women rule the planet.
The other interesting fact, which I didn't double check, and I assume he was telling the truth, or from what he heard and read, apparently you do go to Starkiller Base in this game, because the planet Ilum, where you get your Kyber Crystal, is what they turned into Starkiller Base.
Oh, really?
That's what he said to me. I didn't look it up, but apparently that's what they turned into Starkiller Base, which I was like, that's really cool as well. And then having Saw Gerrera in there was was great.
Yeah, that's who I was talking about when I said there is a like movie character cameo on Kashyyyk, and it's not who you thought it would be.
Yeah. And it's just like I was thinking Seer was somebody different. I thought Seer was going to turn on me at the end of the game once I got the holocron and take.
I thought that's where they were going to.
Like I thought she was like, especially when she grabs Trilla's blade and she's like, "No, we don't have. I'll have a Jedi with me." I was like, "Fuck you, Seer." And then she does the whole like, "You're now a Jedi Knight and not a Padawan." And I was like, "Oh, you motherfuckers!" I thought she was like turning evil right there. Or not turning evil, but like revealing herself as to be evil. And I was just like, it was all really good. It blew me away. The only bit that I was like, I thought was a little, not cliche, but like given what they would do was, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't played it. This game's what, 5-6 years old, whatever.
2019.
4-ish years old. Spoiler alert. They destroy the holocron that you were looking for, because they don't want the Empire to find it to be able to find all the Force-sensitive kids. And the Force will be the thing that brings them together to learn the Jedi Order again. I kind of saw it coming that the holocron was going to be destroyed, because it's like, obviously we know that between now, that after this, eventually Luke 12 years from now, Luke leaves Tatooine to go and find Yoda and whatnot, and blah blah blah. So like, we know the Jedi Order doesn't get reformed between now and then. But yeah, it actually makes me excited for the next one. It's not going to be a day one release. I'm gonna wait until it's on sale, but I will definitely be getting it when it goes on sale, and playing it at some point. But it was so good. The combat is probably some of the best combat I've experienced in a game in a long. Like how reactive the enemies are to your attacks and how reactive you have to be. I spent the first 75% of the game forgetting that I can do a single tap dodge, and was doing double tap dodges the entire time. And then once I started getting those perfect dodges, it felt even better. And then being able to like throw your lightsaber or use the different abilities. I just wish not so much used your force power. That's the only downfall of the combat system, was like, if you're hitting triangle, which is like your heavy attack, just a single triangle where he does a downward slash uses force. And so,
that's right, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's like, that doesn't really make sense. It's like a more powerful attack, but like double triangle, maybe throwing your lightsaber, sure, but like there are, maybe have them cost less force or something. I just felt like, especially in big brawls when there was a lot of enemies I had to deal with, I was always out of force. And so like, I feel like they needed that's like really the biggest downfall. The best fight in the game was the boss on Dathomir. What is his name? I can't remember his name, but he was the boss you fight before you get the key to get the holocron. He had the best fight in the game. It was so cool. It was so like satisfying to fight him, and it was so fun. I clipped, or I have it marked on my stream yesterday, because I want to turn that into something to post on the internet. But Jedi Fallen Order, it's such a good game. It was so fun. Like, I even started playing it on easy mode, because they do story mode. It's story, knight, master, grandmaster. And normally in a Star Wars game, master is the hard mode. Master is hard, knight is medium, Padawan is easy. But I figured they just took away Padawan and did story, knight, master, grandmaster. So easy, medium, hard, very hard. No, I started it at knight, which is apparently the easy mode. Or just it was way too fucking easy for me. That, like, after the first session, I switched it to master. And I kind of want to give it a shot in grandmaster, because grandmaster...
I think knight is supposed to be normal mode. Because that's what I played on. And it was a challenge for me, but I don't play Souls combat games. So I'm very bad at, like, the larger combat sequences.
And that's also the other thing, like, the difficulty isn't quite... It does deal a little bit more damage, but it's more reaction timing. And so the harder the game is, the shorter reaction time for your parries and dodges are, the more aggressive the enemies are. And maybe a little bit, like, I think it was damage as well. I can't fully remember. But, like, it's not just, it doesn't, which is cool. It doesn't increase the amount of enemies. It doesn't increase the amount of health they have. It just literally makes them harder to fight. So, like, I think even on night mode, I still had some difficulty on night mode. But it was just too easy for me. And
I can get that.
The combat itself isn't it's more how the world plays, with like the losing your experience and stuff when you die. That's more the Soulsborne stuff. The combat itself isn't very Souls, because when it comes to a Souls game, yes, you can parry, but like it's not as reactive as other games are. Like, the enemies in a Souls game aren't reacting to your hits and blocking you. Like, you're just hitting them. So, like, it is a very different, but still, it is a unique combat system that I fell absolutely in love with. And I want more games to, like, take that into account. Like, it might be a little bit more, but I haven't played it. It might be a little more akin to, like, Sekiro. But it's nothing like anything Bloodborne and prior, or Demon's Souls and prior. Well, I mean, Demon's Souls was after, but you guys get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and see, like, I fall off of all of the From Software games almost immediately. Anytime I've tried them, like, I don't like them. They're not for me. But, like, I really liked Fallen Order. But, like, some of the combat was incredibly hard for me because I just don't play games where like, the idea is to, like, strike and then get the fuck out of the way. Yeah. So, like, the Stormtroopers were very easy 99% of the time. But, like, anything larger than that tended to just fuck with me.
The hardest part about the game were, like, the little monsters.
Some of those sucked, yeah.
And what I can't remember the actual name of these creatures, but I'm calling them, baby Rancors. They were on Dathomir. And I
know what you're talking about.
They kind of look like Rancors, but they're human size, or maybe a little bit taller than a human, not as tall as a regular Rancor. Those were, like, the hardest enemy. One of them took 6 of my 8 healing stims to fight at one, and like they were tough because they're more reactionary to a dodge and less to a parry, because you can still parry them, but like their hits are so hard that he's still going to send you flying and whatnot, and like he attacks so fast. That was the issue. They attack so fast. It was that, and the on Dathomir when you're fighting the Force zombies, they were a little bit of a pain because like they're actually programmed well to like not be very reactive because they're zombies. So you just keep hitting them and they're just going to keep moving through your hits. In a real true Star Wars world, you slice a zombie in half, they're going to fall apart and just not be able to attack you anymore.
No, they're all covered in Beskar.
Probably.
That's the answer. Anytime you can't just defeat an enemy with one lightsaber blow,
yeah,
they're wearing Beskar.
But yeah, I was blown away by it. I was like such in awe with it, and then the whole end sequence when Vader shows up and everything was just so cool because they actually have you quote fight him initially, and like you have to try to go and attack him, and they don't give him a health bar, and you as a player know there's no way I'm gonna fucking win this.
Yeah,
but I have to because he just killed my friend. And then
that whole final section was really good.
Yeah, the whole like being on the Palace Inquisitus, like that whole planet and being within the Palace Inquisitus, it was such a good sequence. It made you feel like an actual fucking Jedi at some points. Like I was like, man, I am badass. There are enemies that I'm taking out in one hit and knocking them away and doing flips and this and that. Like this is what a Jedi game should feel like. And not basically any of the other Jedi games that's ever been released. Maybe the Old Republic games, like the Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, but none of these.
And just circle back, I looked it up. Ilum, which was Starkiller Base, was the same planet as the game. So like that is where you go for the crystals. It is also it was in the Clone Wars, as like the planet that the Jedi took the younglings to get their Kyber crystals.
Yeah, and they explain that in the game as well. It's like this is like Yoda would bring the younglings to come and like get their crystals. Like you don't pick a crystal picks you.
Yeah, like it's been around a bunch.
Yeah.
And it's what was the other thing I saw? It was mentioned and stuff like that in the High Republic stuff set like before all of this. And according to Wikipedia, it was also where the Death Star's Kyber crystal came from for the planet destroying laser.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
That would make sense. Like it is, if that's the only place that the Jedi know where to get Kyber crystals from, it would make sense that.
Man, I miss pre-Disney canon where like anything could be used for a fucking lightsaber. Like I don't know if you guys remember, but if you play like what's the fucking game you just said? Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, you can find
like literally. Yeah, you find anything shiny, and it can be a fucking, a thing for your lightsaber.
So, I gotta ask you, I don't know if you remember, what was your final lightsaber color?
I don't remember.
Yes, so this is a cool thing that they did, is at the end, or near the end, when you're in an island, before you go back to Dathomir, and you have to go get your new lightsaber crystal because you broke your lightsaber, you find one, and it breaks into 2 pieces, and then, like, he finally gets his will back to be a Jedi and use the Force and everything, like, after being in despair, and, like, it lets you choose the color that this crystal would be, and the entire game I was running around with a fucking, like, orange lightsaber, because it was the best color that they had available, and then I'm going through, and there was a pink lightsaber, and I'm like, that's it, I've never seen a pink lightsaber before, I'm doing fucking that, and it matched my poncho, so it was even better.
So, I forget, once you did that part, were you able to still just freely change the color?
I don't know. I didn't try because I didn't. I'm assuming you probably could have, but I didn't want to lose. And I'm assuming I had the pink available to me if I wanted to go back to it, but I didn't want to lose the pink because I thought it was really cool. So I don't know.
Well, anything else you want to say about Fallen Order before we move on?
If you haven't played Fallen Order and you have PlayStation Plus. No, was that this month or was it no, that was last month. Never mind. If you haven't played Fallen Order, you should play Fallen Order because it's really good. Like, to me,
it goes on sale a lot.
Huh?
It goes on sale a lot.
Yeah. And again, like, I can't stress enough, the best Star Wars story in a long time. Like, I didn't have hate or disdain for the sequel trilogy. I didn't hate Force Awakens. I didn't hate what was the second one?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was The Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi, and I really enjoyed Rise of Skywalker. I thought Rise of Skywalker was great. But like even with everything else that's been released Star Wars based, like The Mandalorian, which hot take, The Mandalorian's really great, but I don't agree that it quote saved Star Wars, which a lot of people say The Mandalorian saved Star Wars. I don't agree with that. I think it's really good, but there's a bunch of other good things out there that did good for Star Wars, like Jedi Fallen Order, which came out before Mandalorian. So it is an amazing Star Wars story.
I agree. What is next on this thing? Oh, so, I played Nintendo Switch Online stuff.
How is playing N64 games on your giant TV or on your Switch? I don't know how you.
I almost never play docked. It is more of a hassle than it is worth. The only N64 game specifically I tried was GoldenEye, and it is fucking horrendous.
Yeah.
The default, or not even the default, the control options available to you make zero sense. Like, it's not even how you would have controlled the game with an N64 controller.
Yeah.
Like, the movement by default is on the right stick. So you move backwards and forwards with the right stick.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Why?
It's awful. And from what I can see, like, a lot of people think it's awful. Like, it wasn't just a me problem. They put zero effort into this one. Whereas, like, the thing they're charging $40 for, the Metroid Prime remaster, just natively, it just defaults you to modern FPS controls.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, has been a thing for, like, people that emulate it for a while. But for Nintendo, it's like, oh, like, you guys did the work. Like, you have to try to put the GameCube controls back onto that game. For GoldenEye, from what I've seen, and I wasn't interested enough to even do this. If you go into the system settings and you just completely redo your controller and then go into GoldenEye, you can make it playable. But then you have to remember to go back into your system settings and reset your controls when you're done.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, again, from what I've gathered from, like, reading up on things, this is not an issue on the Xbox 360 version of GoldenEye. So, like, if you download it on Game Pass, that one plays fairly normal. Mm-hmm. It's just the NSO version. But GoldenEye aside, I dipped into some of the other new stuff, like the Game Boy and Game Boy Advanced stuff. Those games all play really well on the Switch. Like, not surprisingly, like, they require very little resource-wise.
Mm-hmm.
But even turning on the Game Boy Color overlay for all of, like, the original Game Boy games, they look really good. And they look better than just putting a Game Boy game into a Game Boy Color.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, that didn't really color things. It just made it look less green or black and white.
Yeah.
This actually makes things look colorful and nice. So I played a bunch of Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins. I dipped into Zelda Link's Awakening a little bit because I haven't played the Game Boy version of that in a long time. And I played some WarioWare, and what was the other GBA game? I feel like there was one other GBA game, and now I'm drawing a blank on it. Played a bunch of WarioWare because that game is fucking fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I also played a little Echo the Dolphin on the Sega Genesis and some Sonic 2. Why do they only have Sonic 2 on there?
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I'm
well,
hoping...
they also have Bean Machine and Sonic Spinball.
But still.
But yeah, they don't have Sonic 1 or 3, just 2.
I'm hoping, at least when it comes to Sonic 3, which I doubt we're going to get them in any near future because of the Sonic collection that came out recently. But I'm hoping that, like, if they do Sonic 3, and it comes as, like, Sonic 3 and Knuckles combo type thing. But yeah, I don't know why they went with Sonic 2. Probably because that might have been, like, the least played Sonic. And I don't know. I can't even make up a reason. I've never looked it up. There might be rights issues or something like that, but there's no answer, really.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that is unfortunately how Nintendo rolls. But I am really glad that they added the Game Boy stuff. I will say, I did not care all that much for the N64 or the Genesis bit being on there. But the Game Boy Advance and Game Boy stuff, I'm just like, okay, no, like these are actual things that I would like to go back and play. I'm planning on dipping in the Minish Cap because that was one of those games I never actually played on the GBA.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard like it's a very good Zelda game.
Yeah, I think I remember my brother had played it a while back, and he loved it. But I can't really say for sure. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, that game's like 20 years old. Oh, Super Mario Advanced 4 or whatever. The Super Mario Brothers 3 on GBA. That's the other GBA game I've been playing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you know what? Like, it plays fine. I'm not sure why they put that on there when they already have it on the NES version.
Yeah.
Apparently there's some like extra stuff they added to it, but like
aren't there like extra levels or something like that? Didn't they say?
Yeah, there's the e-reader card levels.
But I just feel like make that a later game when you're running out of stuff. Don't make it like one of the original titles when you already have that on one of the other. And I guess if this was a Game Boy game and it was just part of the base package, it'd be like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like one more way to play Mario 3. The not best Mario game, because it's not Mario World.
Fair.
But it's on the GBA one, so it's the one that you do have to spend more money for. Why not give us, like, one more, like, top-tier game for that? Because, like, if you have that tier, you definitely have the NES tier.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just a small complaint. But overall, like, I think that GBA and Game Boy package is super solid. I still need to... I need to do Wario Land 3, because that game is very good. It's been a long time since I played that. All those Wario Land games were surprisingly good. Like, they were better than they had any right to be. Yeah, definitely. It is worth downloading those emulators or whatever the fuck you want to call them on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wish I'd played them more. I don't play them enough, especially since like I don't really. I've been playing most games on my PC, so like, and I have so many games that I want to play. That it's like, it's hard for me to be like, all right, I'm just going to do a retro day, because I also am not 100% into retro games. But I do love having them in my wheelhouse of things to play, so that, like, if I want to just go to, like, Wrecking Crew or some shit like that, like, I don't have a lot of the nostalgia for the games that they have available on Game Boy or GBA, because I didn't have them as a kid. So, like, those really didn't interest me. But, like, the Genesis games, like, playing Sonic and whatnot, I'm all for.
Altered Beast.
And like
don't sound excited for Altered Beast. What are you doing?
Look, it's a game you play for like 30 seconds, and you go Altered Beast, and then you play, and that's it. And like, there's nothing wrong with that.
He didn't even say the thing that they say at the beginning, which would be the reason you play that game.
What do they say at the beginning?
Cobb?
Honestly, I don't remember. It's been so long.
Rise from your grave.
Right. The last time I saw anything about that game was when Giant Bomb did the
This is the Run?
Yes, thank you. I was drawing a blank on the name of that too. I saw it on there as I was scrolling through the games. I'm like, oh, there's a game I will probably never launch.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. It's
and
a bad
just
game.
kept going. But they have like Streets of Rage on there. The Wily Wars, 2. Which you're going to talk about.
And yes.
Yeah.
Which actually, Drew, like how has the Wily Wars been?
Cool, honestly. I really like how it looks, because I never played whatever. Is there a base Mega Man game on like the SNES? It's like
no.
No?
I think 6 was Mega Man 6 may have been on SNES, but I think it was also on NES. Like I think it was one of those.
It was definitely just on SNES.
No, Mega Man 6 was still just Nintendo.
Or then 7. Then 7 was just on SNES.
Oh, I thought Mega Man 7 jumped. Oh yeah, no, you're right. Okay. For some reason, I thought Mega Man 7 was the one where they jumped to PlayStation.
No, it was 8. So yeah,
okay.
1 through 6 were NES, and then 7 was SNES, and then 8 was PlayStation.
Yeah,
9 was Wii, 10 was, and 11 was everything at the time.
Like, I never played Mega Man 7 to have seen like a 16-bit Mega Man. But even, like, 7 looks way different than, like, what they did with Wily Wars. And, I don't know, like, they changed just enough of, like, stuff with the backgrounds. Or, like, Woodman is actually a little bit bigger in Mega Man 2 than Mega Man is. Or any of the other, like, Robot Masters. A little bit of difference in the colors on Flashman. He looked real cool.
So I didn't realize it. So they made it 16-bit?
Yeah, it's a fucking Genesis game.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, like art's all updated, the music is all updated and really cool. Although I've definitely played the most Mega Man 2 out of those 3 games. So hearing like redone Mega Man 2 music was really weird. But because it sounds like Sega Genesis music, and it's like, this is not right. But that, it was less off-putting for Mega Man 3 and Mega Man 1, because I've barely played either of those games. Well, I've barely played Mega Man 1. I've played a fair amount of Mega Man 3. But I have now beat all 3 of the games and started the Wily Tower thing a little bit. Fucking Mega Man 2 was ridiculously hard.
Really?
So it's on the difficult setting. Or, the Japanese difficulty. And shit is so hard to kill. You take so much fucking damage. Like, I cannot say I ever remember dying to the very final Wily boss. Like, the alien. Like, I died multiple times to the final alien.
That's a bummer. Stupid. That boss is stupid because you have to use bubble.
Yeah, you have to use bubble, and in difficult setting, if you make contact with the alien, it takes away like 85% of your health. And
wow.
And you need almost a full bubble lead to... Well, actually, I figured out I was fucking that up a little bit and wasting bubbles, and I should have only been doing one shot at a time. But, like, yeah, the amount of damage you take is ridiculous. Like, if you hit the alien once, like, you could not get hit by anything, a shot or the alien again, even from full health.
Did they change anything else major in there?
What do you mean?
Like, I don't remember the alien being that difficult in, like, Mega Man 2 on... Excuse me, I have the hiccups all of a sudden on NES.
Yeah, but he's playing on a harder difficulty.
Yeah, did you ever play on difficult mode on the NES version?
I didn't know there was a difficult mode.
Yeah, so that's the only one that has a difficulty select, because basically they Mario'd Mega Man in Japan. They made Mega Man 2 way harder than Mega Man 1 was.
Oh.
Like, Mario 2 is way harder than original Mario.
Which, yes.
Like, so on difficult mode compared to the US Mega Man 2, almost everything takes double the damage to kill, and does double the damage to you.
Well, that's
like
dumb.
Literally everything. So
I'm
like
opposed to this.
Weak things that would normally take like 2 hits to kill and maybe do 2 damage to you now take like 4 and do 4 damage to you if they hit you. And like bosses were like kind of ridiculous with the damage sometimes, but otherwise, like the patterns and whatnot are all the same, and actual layouts of the stage are the same. The backgrounds and the artwork are a little bit different, but the game is the same. But then Mega Man 1 and 3 are what you would remember, and, like, almost ridiculously easy. Like, I played Mega Man 2 first, because it's Mega Man 2, it's the best. And then when I went and played 3 and then 1, I was like, oh, these games are, like, way fucking easier.
Well, because the game is 1, 2, and 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so of that collection, yeah, definitely, in my opinion.
Mega Man 2 is the best. That's the end of the sentence.
Have you played anything beyond Mega Man 3?
Yes.
What?
I've played 4, 5, 9, 10... 4, 5, 9, and 10.
So you
For
haven't
sure.
played it. You haven't played 11, which I believe to be one of the better, probably.
I have heard good things about 11. It's not Mega Man 2. I don't care.
I mean, you can't just sit there and be like, if it's not it, I don't care, because it's a really good game. You should check it out.
I mean, 2 is the best though.
But I mean, is it?
It is.
Yes.
I would only hear arguments for 3 to be best, but I prefer 2, and it's objective, or subjective. I'm sorry.
In that collection between 1, 2, and 3, I agree that 2 is the best of those. 3 I had the most nostalgia for because I played that. I had that when I was a Mega Man. But again, it's to me like Mega Man 1 was probably the worst Mega Man game, and the rest of them, Mega Man 2 through 7, 8, 7, 2 through 6, were all just like cookie cutter Mega Man, kind of the same, except one. I think one of them was more difficult than the others, and he did not like it. I can't remember.
I'm sorry though, we can't actually accept your Mega Man ranking until you have completed all the Mega Man X games.
Nope, because you guys haven't completed all of the Mega Man games. So I am the most qualified to talk about this in that sense.
I think the only one I've never actually played is 11.
11 is really, really good. I
own it.
It's you should play it. It's really good. And like I worried that like the time mechanic might be a little like they might rely on it too much or whatever, but like you don't really have to use it, and the time mechanic is actually what they did.
Like the only ones I don't think I've ever played 7 and 8. I've definitely played 4 and 5.
There's no way you never played 8. I'm sure you came over our house at some point or another and played 8.
Okay, I mean, fair, but not, like, enough to, like, really... I don't think I ever owned it. Let's put it that way.
Me and Eric, and I think more specifically Eric, but me and Eric played Mega Man 8 and Mega Man X4 so many times that, like, we were kind of speedrun capable back then. So, like, I mean, you might not have played it, but we probably beat it in your presence.
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, no, like, it's cool, and I'm messing with the Wily Tower stuff now. Like, I did the first... It's 3 bosses and then, like, a Wily castle, apparently. So I did the first 2 bosses. It is fucking wild seeing enemies from all Mega Man 1, 2, and 3 in one level.
That does sound kind of wild.
And, like, it's cool, so you get to pick a loadout, basically, of 8 of the Robot Master Weapons and 3 of the items. So there's the Magnet Beam from Mega Man 1, then items 1, 2, and 3 from Mega Man 2, and Rush Coil, Rush Jet, and Rush Marine. So you get to pick any 3 of those, and then any 8 Robot Master Weapons to go into each level.
That is actually kind of cool.
And it's like, it's also funny because in the select screen, when you're selecting your loadout, the crash bombs are abbreviated CR, but then when you pull up the menu for the weapons, it was abbreviated CL for Clash Man in the Japanese.
No, tell them to go home. They're drunk. They need to go home.
I mean, yes, but it was funny that it was like, why did this change from the one screen to the other? Like, I don't know. And like, it also actually has like the little in the in-game menu has little like symbol of like the weapon, kind of like some of the later Mega Mans had, along with the abbreviation. So like it had like a little tornado for Airman and like the crash bomb or whatever. But I think that's kind of the coolest thing of that collection so far, is like seeing these levels they made that have all random enemies. Well, different enemies from different Mega Man games all on the same level, and you can be jumping from Mega Man 1 to Mega Man 3 weapon all at the same time. It's kind of cool.
That is actually kind of neat.
My only complaint so far has been playing it on a Switch Lite. That fucking controller sucks shit after a little bit.
Is the Switch Lite actually smaller? I forget.
Yeah. Well, I mean, form factor, it's smaller.
But, like, are the Joy-Cons and stuff also smaller?
I think I would have to grab Sarah's Switch and, like, actually look. I mean, at least it does have an actual D-pad, so that's a positive. But just the layout with where the right analog stick is and then the buttons, like, uncomfortable.
Yeah, I get that. I also, the like, triangle, or not, the diamond shape, I mean, layout for the face buttons on old games just doesn't feel great to me.
Yeah, no.
Like, I make do a lot of times, but, like, playing, like, Mario games on, like, the Super Nintendo or Nintendo thing, like, you have to hold, like, different buttons to really, like, for it to feel right to, like, run and jump at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But anything else you want to say about Wily Wars?
I'd say you guys should definitely check it out. Like, it's just on there. Like, I never had played it before. It was a thing that I don't even know how many copies ever really came out in the US. So it's cool to actually be able to play that.
Yeah, like, I've always seen it, but never really, like, thought about it as being different.
You should, like, really load it up and especially just listen to it. It's so weird to hear that game sound like a Genesis game.
Yeah, I might have to check it out. Maybe tonight once we wrap up, if Rich will stop talking. Jesus, man.
Yeah.
What?
Good. That was good.
Mm-hmm.
Proud of you. Anyway, moving right along. Are you guys familiar with the movie MEGAN?
No.
Yes, I am, but I haven't seen MEGAN 1 or 2 yet, so I am not going to see MEGAN.
Well, what was that movie with what's-her-face? Wasn't that, fuck. There was another movie. Drawing a blank now. Oh, well. So this is like it's James Wan, the guy who does, like, the Conjuring and Saw movies.
Mm-hmm.
And Fast and Furious 7. He wrote the screenplay. It's like a Blumhouse film. It is what I'm assuming is supposed to be, like, near future. Like, everything's pretty much the same, but their technology's nicer. So in this world, they have, like, these high-tech Furbies. They look just like a shitty Furby, only they've got super advanced AI, so, like, they all have, like, unique personalities and actually respond to you and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, the one of the main characters, she works at the company that makes them, and she also, on the side, has developed this, like, breakthrough AI that looks like an actual child. So they like build it a robot body, and the robot body looks like a between 9 and 11-year-old girl. And she's called MEGAN because it's an acronym, like, it stands for something. It's like third generation something. And the woman who helps design it is also the guardian of her 9-year-old niece, who lost her parents in a horrific car accident that she was also in. So, like, this little girl just, like, had nothing left and was just, like, super depressed and miserable. So the aunt, like, introduces her to this AI, and the little girl gets super attached to the AI. To the point where there is a scene in this movie where this little girl is straight up exhibiting, like, heroin withdrawal symptoms. Like, she's trying to, like, rationalize with her aunt that she just needs to see her for a minute. She just needs to make sure she's okay. But at a certain point in the movie, a thing happens, and as you will in, like, a horror movie like this, the AI goes a little crazy and just starts fucking murdering people. And it's like, it's not that she's especially strong, but she is strong enough because she is all just, like, metal and hydraulics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, like, at one point she takes, you guys remember, like, the big paper cutters in school where it was like a fucking guillotine sort of deal?
Uh-huh. She faculties somebody?
Yeah, like, she just rips that thing off and, like, chases a man through, like, an office building before killing him with it.
Didn't they do that in I think they did that in the faculty. I think it was the faculty.
It was one of those movies. Like, I do remember that. She kills a woman with a power washer.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, that was the most bullshit kill because she hits this woman who is, like, a heavy-set woman with just a blast from a power washer, and it literally knocks this lady against the wall. And I'm like, no, like, it would hurt. It would 100%, like, shred skin. It is not knocking her 15 feet and off the ground. But then she just, like, the woman's on the ground, she nails her hands to some wood so she can't get up, and then proceeds to, like, power wash her face to death.
Jesus.
Yeah. They don't show all of that, but, like, they show enough of it that you know that's what she's doing. Mm-hmm. She also rips a child's ear off, and then throws him in front of a moving vehicle. So, like, it goes some places. It balanced a good amount of, like, the over-the-top, like, slasher horror stuff with some really good, like, comedic timing and things, too. Because, like, good horror movies now have, like, they walk a line between, like, comedy and horror anymore. Like, you very rarely get one, like the original Conjuring was, like, a legitimately creepy movie and had very little levity to it. But I feel like any other kind of, like, one of these that works, it has to have some levity. There's a reason that they are still making successful Scream movies almost 30 years later, because those movies lean into comedy just as much as the slasher horror stuff. And without that, like, no one wants to just watch people being fucking murdered for 2 hours. But this was an interesting one, though. It's still in theaters right now, but it's one of those, like, it released early for rental, and we'd wanted to see it since we saw the previews, so we just did the early rental for it. Definitely worth it. And they are apparently making a sequel.
Yeah, and I've seen, like, trailers and stuff. I know my mom wants to see it. I didn't know she was really into horror, but apparently she's really into horror.
Don't let her.
Don't let my mom see this movie?
Yeah.
Why?
So, actual legitimate spoiler for Megan, because this is, like, a big deal. They kill a dog in this movie.
Man, now I'm not seeing the movie. I'm not seeing the movie.
Yeah, so, I will say this. They do not show it happen at all. It is 100% just, like, it is implied and then straight out told that it happened. But they never show any harm to the dog.
Yeah, I mean, look, if she wants to watch it, she wants to watch it. I'm not going to tell her not to watch it. The only movie I've ever told her not to watch was Morbia.
Why? That was such a good movie.
She didn't understand it's Morbin time, and so I just told her, you're not going to get it, and not.
No, like I said, that movie, it should have been a romantic comedy.
But yeah, like my mom wanted to see it, and I was actually interested in it too. Like I've seen trailers and things for it. I'm like, this is an interesting concept, kind of like reverse Pinocchio, but also kind of in line to what they did with Child's Play a few years back. And like this is a neat concept.
It is actually very similar to the more recent Child's Play, or even, do either of you remember the Simpsons episode where the Krusty doll went crazy and it was just turned from, like, happy to homicidal?
Yes, yes.
It's almost one of those two. And, like, it is a predictable movie. I will say that. Like, I had fun with it, but, like, near the end of the movie when Megan started murdering everything, I looked over at Erica, I'm like, they're going to fucking kill her with this thing that they showed at the very beginning of the movie because it was a fucking Chekhov's gun. And it was very obvious that's what they were going to do. Mm-hmm. So, like, there were a few things like that where, like, you weren't, like, on the edge of your seat wondering what was going to happen. You weren't even wondering, like, who was going to survive it. It was just more like, how were they going to get to the end? Like, but it definitely had that feeling of they showed Megan being, like, a normal, the thing they wanted it to be, which was going to be this, like, several $1,000, like, child's toy / parental aid. Mm-hmm. And then a thing happened, her safety measures get destroyed and no one knows it.
Yeah.
Until she starts murdering people. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. It is worth watching. Speaking of worth watching, is Ant-Man and the Wasp worth watching?
Yes. Don't listen to the reviews. The reviews are fucking bullshit. Like, I've been wanting to try to read the reviews and try to understand why it's, like 60% on Rotten Tomatoes or some shit right now. This movie's fucking great, man.
Honestly, I think it's a lot of it is just, like, burnout of these movies because they're all the fucking same anymore.
But, like, I've read a few things and, like, I haven't read fully, but, like, some of it is complaining about the CG and whatnot. I'm like, the CG in this was better than fucking Wakanda. Like, it was better than Black Panther. The CG in this was better than pretty much any other Marvel movie.
I think it helped that, like, the movie was set in a place where, like, it had to all be CG.
Yeah.
Versus, like, all the other ones where it's set in, like, the normal world and there's just a bunch of fake things.
I'm guessing you didn't watch it. You didn't get to
No,
see
like,
it.
I am over going and having bad times at movie theaters, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just waiting for it to be available to rent or stream.
Yeah. It was great. It's so worth watching. It's so worth seeing. It has heart. It has, like, the cast fucking puts it down, man. It puts it together, not puts it down. Puts it together. Like, the cast is amazing. You have all of the normal cast with all of the Ant-Man cast. You have the girl who plays Cassie now, and then, like, just everyone you see in the quantum realm, and it is such a good story. It like really helps you fill in, like, the time between Endgame and now with what Ant-Man's been doing and how he's been feeling, and, like, it actually shows you, like he's like, yeah, I can't really say much without spoiling it, because I feel like a lot of what happens, like, you need to go in blind in order to, like, get a full good experience for it. You need to go in blind to the movie. Like, you don't actually really need to know a lot of stuff that's happened in the past. You need to know that the quantum realm exists. You need to know about the blip. But, like, here's something you don't need to know about. You don't need to know anything about Loki. You don't need to know about the TVA. But if you know about the TVA, you catch a reference here or there, potentially. That's really it.
Well, that's actually pretty cool.
Like, you don't need to have seen everything to know everything. And I think this isn't the last film of the phase, because we still have Captain Marvel,
which got pushed back.
But it only got pushed back to, like, it's supposed to come out 2 months from now. It got pushed back to, like, August or September or something like that, like, because they didn't have an end of the year movie, because it was supposed to be a Star Wars year, but Star Wars isn't coming out.
Oh, this is the first movie of the phase.
Is it the first? Oh, then the last one was Jedi? Or not Jedi.
Yep, the last one was
Forever.
Jedi.
I just said Star Wars, and so I was still trying to think of Star Wars. But the last one was
I think it was Wakanda Forever. Yeah, so Phase 4 was Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, No Way Home, Doctor Strange, Love and Thunder, and Black Panther. And then Phase 5 is Quantumania, Guardians 3 in May, The Marvels in November, Captain America, New World Order in May of 2024, Thunderbolts in July of 2024, and Blade in September 2024.
Plus whatever series they have coming out. We'll be getting a Loki series and whatnot. I think they've announced that.
So we got Secret Invasion first, which that's supposed to be early 2023. I feel like that's probably getting pushed. Loki is coming later this year. We have What If Season 2, Ironheart, Echo, Agatha next year probably, and Daredevil next year.
Yeah, so like we have a lot coming out, and I understand like some what's the word? Shit. I can't remember what the word is. I understand, like, being run down from these and just being like, there's too much of it, but, like,
fatigue,
that's it. I understand being fatigued from these, but this movie was, or at least felt, entirely different than any of the other Marvel movies. Like, they are trying, and we saw it with Wakanda Forever, and the story that they tried to tell with that movie, the 3 fucking stories they tried to tell with that movie, and we see it with this, with Ant-Man Quantumania. Like, they aren't just trying to be superhero stories, but they are still trying to involve, like, the superhero action flick and everything like that. I don't think Wakanda Forever really filled that, like, the need of all the, like, the completely did all 3 stories properly. I feel like they needed 2 movies to do what they did. But with this one, with the story they were trying to tell, on top of like the B stories that are in this are just as good as the main A story. And, like, they're not, like, they are, like, right there, and they explain to you everything, and they show you about these characters. And, like, I cannot see anything wrong about this movie. Like, obviously there's going to be some flaws here or there, but like to me, I don't think it's deserving of such a low score as it's getting in the public review, in the reviewer reviews, in the publication. I don't know what it's doing with the general fan reviews. I haven't looked at Rotten Tomatoes since the day it came out, or since the day I saw it, but it's just like, I don't understand why people are talking so poorly on it, especially when it comes to CG, because I think the CG and the set pieces and everything that set up was so good, and it was so, even like the humor was great, and it wasn't like over the top like Thor was, and it wasn't like kind of non-existent like in Black Panther. It was very much in the middle of the road, the perfect timing of everything, and the perfect place for everything.
Because you know what, and having not seen it, like I obviously can't like say this for sure. I feel like Paul Rudd is one of the last people they have left that is legitimately just a charming person.
Yeah.
Because like I like Chris Hemsworth, but like his Thor portrayal is just a little too over the top now. Mm-hmm. Like, and that's the writing and directing of those movies.
Yeah, it's directing from Taika, which I'm not saying I don't like Taika's directing. I loved Ragnarok. I loved Love and Thunder, but I understand, like, all right, maybe it is a little over the top. I don't think it was too far to make it a bad movie, but I do think they could cut it back.
Yeah, but like you figure, we don't have Robert Downey Jr., we don't have Chris Evans, we don't have Chadwick Boseman, like, Paul Rudd is like the last like just super charming guy that can pull off the really just overdone humor in the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Cause like that humor is not fun anymore. Like the witty banter and sarcasm was great in 2012, but now it's been over a decade of the same jokes basically. Or the same joke type, I should say.
Yeah. But it all still works. Like, he delivers it, and the direction and the directing all delivers all of the humor as well as all the seriousness, like, perfectly. There was even, like, as we were getting ready to talk about this, I was thinking, like, you know, it would have been great if they did this at this point, just kind of trying to, like, bring, like, fill in, like, kind of what he was trying to go, what it felt like he was trying to go for at this point, but then I realized, like, no, if they did that, the humor would have been too much. And it would have gone above where it should have. And so, like, I'm glad they didn't do that. But I'm glad they did what they did with some of the stuff in the movie. And, like, I loved it. I loved it so much. If this is what Phase 5 is going to be, I am excited. Because Phase 4, to me, was the worst phase so far. It has had, in my opinion, some of the worst Marvel movies. But it has also had some of... like a few of the better Marvel movies as well. But like overall it was very good or bad. It wasn't middling in Phase 5 or Phase 4.
The only two Phase 5 movies that I'm not sure about are probably Thunderbolts and Blade. Blade mostly because it's kind of been in a bit of a development hell, and that doesn't always bode well. And Thunderbolts because it's a group of villains that all kind of sucked.
I also didn't realize Thunderbolts was a movie. I thought it was going to be a series.
No, like the only thing Thunderbolts has going for it is
Harrison Ford. Well, no, like they have some good characters in it.
Actually, I forgot he was going to be Ross, but Sebastian Stan being back as Bucky and probably John Walker. Mm-hmm. All of the other villains, like Yelena. Actually, I'm sorry, I forgot Yelena's in this too. So
Yelena's in it. What's his name? Her dad's in it.
Yeah, David Harbour, which, like, his character was completely fine. Yeah. Like, but then you have, like, Taskmaster, which, like, that was not a good use of Taskmaster in Black Widow. I didn't dislike the character in the movie, like, it served its purpose, but, like, not interesting enough to be on the Thunderbolts. And then Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp, which also another one where it's like, yeah, no, this character is completely forgettable, should not be on the Thunderbolts, but you murder all your fucking villains every time you end a movie, so you've got no one fucking left.
Yeah, and it's like, when it comes, especially when it comes to, like, Taskmaster had zero personality.
Yeah, because she was basically an android.
Widow. Yeah, so, like, I can't get excited to have Taskmaster in it. Like, I've said this in the past, I've said this on my Discord, they ruined Taskmaster. Like, based on my experience of Taskmaster, which is only a handful of mediums that aren't the comics.
I mean, Taskmaster is not like I dislike Taskmaster. I think they're kind of a shitty villain, but they made the villain kind of boring in Black Widow.
And then like Ghost is a little bit. Ghost actually had a personality and actually was like a little bit of a better character than Taskmaster. But you're right. Like you haven't really. You don't really have a connection with them because like I don't know. Just it didn't. I haven't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp since before Endgame. Like, it's been a long time, and this character that you're bringing back that, like, no one really knows, and I don't even remember what happened to her, is just like, alright, whatever. Like, if they were pulling in, say, I know they have the Echo show, but what if Echo was part of this? Or, like, characters that were in more stuff, really. Like, Yelena being in it makes sense, because she's been a more prevalent Yelena. She's been a more prevalent character in Marvel. Like Ross being in it makes sense because the fucking Thunderbolt Ross. You need him, and now is Harrison Ford, which is an interesting casting. I wonder if he's going to be Red Hulk or not. Bucky, you need to have, but you're right. Like all of the other villains, but they've also had a lot of big villains. They haven't really had a lot of small villains in these Marvel films. Like, the villains that you encounter in the Marvel films, the ones that die, are, like, the ones that I don't think would necessarily be part of a Thunderbolts team. Because they're supposed to be the Marvel response to Suicide Squad, basically, right?
Yeah, like, they are, like, the government-sanctioned, like villains, basically.
Yeah. So, like, thinking back through a lot of the Earth villains, like, I wouldn't expect to have Obadiah Stane. I wouldn't expect to have, Whiplash, right? Or whatever his name was. I mean, I'm not even going to get into trying to bring in Iron Man 3 into that. But, like, even...
Whiplash, had they not killed him, would have been an interesting villain for the Thunderbolts.
But,
or,
like,
I'm sorry, not... Like an interesting member for them, I should say.
But, like, you know who I think would maybe be good to throw into this? Fucking the Vulture. One of the few Marvel villains that haven't been killed. But they're not going to get Michael Keaton into this. Like, trying to think back...
No, Sony owns him, that's why.
Yeah. But, like, trying to think back to what heroes they've had or what villains they've had in some of these, like, they do a lot of, like, in a sense, god-level threats for solo films that, like, you can't really do, like, obviously, you're not going to have Dormammu be the fucking, in the Thunderbolts. Dormammu's like a god. So, well,
like... Why you have to be that way?
What?
Why you have to exclude Dormammu from being on the Thunderbolts? What if he really wants to be on the Thunderbolts?
He's a god. He can just, like, look at things, and I don't really know what Dormammu does. He's the head of the Shadow Realm. Like,
I don't know.
I don't
know. Sounds like you're being specious to me.
But, like, you get what I'm saying, though. Like, there aren't a lot of solo villains that they have pulled in to be a villain in a Marvel movie that is weak enough to be part of a team like that. Maybe Whiplash, but, like, they straight up killed him. But, like, yeah, they need to... That's why some of these hero stuff, like, might be better just as series, so that you could do a Spider-Man series where, like, he's fighting... Shocker and Rhino and shit like that. And then you can throw them in there. Or, I don't know, I can't think of any other heroes.
Hey, don't tell me what they can do. Why don't you just go do it?
I can't do it. Maybe I'll go find the robot that plans everything. Why don't you switch up careers first? Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to start from the bottom. So you're going to be a gopher first. You get the ear of somebody important. You start slipping them some ideas. You work your way up. Maybe you become a gaffer. Mm-hmm.
Eventually, maybe you're like a secondary like lighting tech or something like that. And then someday, if you try hard enough, maybe you'll be able to be an executive producer or something.
Yeah, maybe. But back to Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think it's a fantastic film. That just like it was super fun. It really builds. Based on like how things go in the ending and the credit scenes and everything else, it's really building up for this phase to Booch, and like I am excited for it. I am like looking forward to what's next.
Well, you've heard it here. The only positive review of Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Probably.
Quantumania.
Probably.
It's a 48 on Rotten Tomatoes now.
But what about the viewer?
84.
84.
But viewer reviews do not matter.
But I think in this context, like, it just shows the difference between people are enjoying it, critics are not.
I mean, yes and no. Like, there's nothing to... I mean, Rotten Tomatoes has, like, a verified users review, but who's to say any of the 25,000 people that went on there actually watched the thing?
No,
exactly.
That's
That's my problem with user reviews, is you have nothing to say they actually watched the thing.
I mean, look, you're not wrong, but I'm just throwing out there that, like, what a company is looking for is for the users to care, not the... What Marvel and Disney are looking for, at least. Like, they're not trying to get awards out of this thing, so they're happy if they're sitting at 84 user review versus the 48 critic review. Whether we agree with either of them.
I mean, I guess I don't know how much any of those companies give a shit about user review scores.
I think they probably care more than you would think. I don't think they put a whole lot of anything behind any of the reviews because they're just really looking at the fact that this movie made hundreds of millions of dollars this past weekend.
Yeah, I think that's all they really care, is how many dollars did it make. Especially with the Marvel movies. For sure, they really don't give a shit about the critic review. Like, yeah,
because like...
They're like, 48 on Rotten Tomatoes, whatever, who cares? It made $700 million. We're cool.
Which,
yeah,
I mean, I can't remember where, but I read that it didn't really, like, break any records for Marvel, or didn't, like...
Oh, nothing will ever again. Like,
but, like, it's like, box office is $283 million, right? So it's over budget. The budget was $200 million, or it's over production budget. It's not over advertising budget, but box office right now, it's almost made money. So, but like even in the theater itself, like it wasn't full. I was also seeing a 3D movie, but like there were a lot of open seats.
I legitimately don't know that movies will ever sell out again.
No, I mean, like, I've been to a few, like, very full movies in the
very
last
full
year.
And completely selling out are different.
But that's the thing, so I don't look around to see that.
I'm saying that this wasn't even very full. This wasn't even near full. Like, this was half the theater. I saw Wakanda Forever in theaters, and it was full. It was probably near sold out. Like I've seen movies, especially Marvel movies, that were mostly full. Even Black Widow, but that was the first movie back in theaters since the pandemic, or the first Marvel movie back in theaters since the pandemic. That like it was near sold out.
Wait, did Black Widow go to theaters? I thought I watched that on Disney Plus.
They did both.
Oh, okay.
And Scarlett Johansson was mad about that because she potentially lost because they released it on Disney Plus and theaters at the same time.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, she definitely lost money because her contract was for, like, a percentage of, like, theater stuff.
Yeah.
And a bunch of studios were running into that stuff. Like, where, like, actors and directors and stuff like that were losing out on money that they were...
Yeah.
They basically took a smaller, like, paycheck up front because they were told they would make money on, like, box office sales, and then they're just like, well, we're just going to release this movie basically for free, so, yeah, fuck off.
Well, yeah, I mean, I almost, even when Black Widow came out, I almost had an outdoor movie night, and I wanted to invite a bunch of people over and do a projector on the side of my wall, and, like, because it was still, like, not peak, it was still mid-pandemic, and like people weren't going to want to like hang out in somebody's house and watch a movie, that I was going to do an outdoor viewing for it. But Eric ended up having extra tickets or whatever. But like I've seen like even like Shang-Chi, I saw Shang-Chi, but like I also like Shang-Chi, I saw it Friday night that it came out, whereas this was Saturday afternoon after it came out. Like the opening weekend. So like
right.
there's a little bit of a leeway you give the number of people viewing a movie at the time that you see it, but still like there weren't as many people there as I was expecting. But there's a lot of variables to it, and they're strongly pushing 3D, which I'm generally not someone to really care for 3D, but the 3D did add to it in this instant. Like, not a lot. It wasn't like you need to see it in 3D, but like, it was a nice added experience seeing it.
Which is funny, because like, that is never a thing that like hits me, is like, oh yeah, this was actually a good movie in 3D.
Mm-hmm. No, it wasn't, like I said, if you don't see it in 3D, it's fine. You're not gonna like, it's not gonna lose anything. But like it a little like if it like 0.2 like 2% better, like barely any better, but like 2% a little bit better, or not even better, but enjoyable. Like visually, it looked a little bit more stunning because you could better see the depth of everything that was going on. But the set pieces were great. The design, people are just complaining. Most of the reviews I'm seeing are people are complaining because there's so much CG, and it's like, well, yeah, they're in a fake fucking world. What do you? There's a blob monster that talks. What do you want? What do you want?
Yeah, that really is one of those like, yeah, what the fuck did you expect?
Like, I don't understand what you're looking for, because like it's not. There's a lot of stuff that they can't do practical anymore, or not can't do practical anymore, but like some of like, yeah, they have basic sets set up, but like the CG and everything that they used for this looked very good. I don't think it was over, but it's definitely it's a go see movie. Like go check it out if you enjoy Marvel movies. Like this might reinvigorate you into enjoying like I said earlier when we were talking about like Star Wars. I was starting to lose hope in Star Wars until I saw Rise of Skywalker, and that like reinvigorated my love of Star Wars. And then Fallen Order just even pushed that even further. That like this might help with your fatigue of Marvel and fatigue of superhero movies. But you know what also might help for your fatigue of superhero movies? Just don't go see DC movies. That might help.
I mean, like DC are arguably worse, but like it seems like every other Marvel movie anymore is just not very good.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like that's like I said with Phase 4. Like
actually, the last two Marvel movies I didn't like. I didn't like Love and Thunder, and I didn't like Wakanda Forever.
Mm-hmm. Well, you didn't get to finish Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, but it was such an uninteresting movie that I have no intention of going back and rewatching it.
Yeah, and like it's unfortunately
like 2 hours in, it was that bad.
Yeah, it was. They tried to do too much in that movie.
Yeah,
and it's like I understand the stories they were trying to tell, but you tried to tell too much. Like they didn't need to introduce a new character in like Riri Williams in this movie. Like with everything else they had going on with, they didn't need to also include her. But like yeah, it's like I said, the previous phase. It didn't seem like there was any middle of the road movies where it's like, some like it, or like, where it's like, iffy on it. It was either you really liked it or you really hated it. Whereas it seems like in this one, Marvel's going back to its roots of like, the critics don't like it, but everyone else thinks it's a great movie. It's just the critics are just being overly critical on something. Like, but it's also...
they're just worn out of the same tropes being used over and over again.
And it's also, like, I've made this argument, like, a million times. It's a Marvel movie. Even when I say that I didn't like it, doesn't mean I thought it was a bad movie. It was still a good movie. It just wasn't my kind of movie. Like, all of these movies are very good movies. They're just not your movie. They're not your character. And luckily, like, unless it's a team-up movie, you don't really have to watch it if you don't like that character.
Yeah, that is true. But anything else you want to say about Ant-Man?
No, that's it. I got a pee, so.
All right. Well, that is probably going to do it then for this week. Next week, we have our next book club, which is the 1988 anime classic Akira, which in the U.S. at least you can watch the sub or dub version on Hulu. And other than that, you can support us. You can find more of our content at www.one-quest.com. And you can also support us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there with your dollars, though, you can go to your favorite podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, a bunch of places. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. It all helps. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/onequestonline or at @one_quest on Twitter and Instagram. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/onequestvideo. And you can always send us an email to social@one-quest.com. But other than that, we will be back next week with something else to talk about. Oh, Rich, what's your streaming?
Wow.
Twitch.tv. You said you had to pee. You said you had to pee. I was rushing.
Twitch.tv/B_Walnuts for video game streaming Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Coming up on Thursday that this releases, the 23rd, I'm going to be playing some Apex Legends because I beat the game I was in the middle of playing, and I don't want to start the next game quite yet. And then on Sunday, I don't know what time because we're now deciding there's going to be a family dinner on Sunday, so I don't know when I'm going to be able to play, but I'll let you know on Discord. We're going to be starting probably Tales of Arise, but also Sons of the Forest comes out in like 2 days, and I might get that and do that first. I don't know yet. I haven't figured it out. But most likely, one of those two on Sunday. Come hang out. It's going to be a blast.
All right, and with that, we will be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
See yous.
Bye.